Hey, welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. In a world where financial decisions can feel overwhelming, especially for young adults, gaining clarity on investing is more important than ever. Today, I'm joined by an expert who simplifies the complex world of finance. I've got Dr. Joe Duarte, a renowned market analyst, trader, investor, money manager, and author. His latest book is the third edition of the Everything Guide to Investing in Your 20s and 30s, and it's designed to empower young adults to take control of their financial futures. Dr. Duarte, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and please just call me Joe.
I appreciate it, Joe. It's a pleasure to have you. Your background from being a board-certified anesthesiologist to analyzing global financial markets. That is absolutely fascinating. The book, The Everything Guide to Investing in Your 20s and 30s, it's in its third edition. What are some of the biggest financial challenges facing millennials and Gen Z today, and how does this updated guide specifically address them?
Well, I think the biggest problem that anyone that is just getting started has is they don't know how to get started. They're disorganized. And so what this book does is start at the beginning with budgeting and very, very simple things. And then it works its way through the stock market, the bond market, and other types of more complicated investments, and ends up with real estate as a possible way to harness personal income on a regular basis.
Interesting. Fascinating. And you emphasize the magic of time in investing. For young adults just starting out, why is beginning their investment journey early the ultimate financial advantage?
Well, I mean, you can have all the screw ups in the world and learn as you go along. And if you apply yourself and learn from your mistakes, then over time you're almost guaranteed success.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because your book simplifies complex financial concepts, which makes investing less intimidating. Have you found one fundamental investing concept that you find most young adults misunderstand, and how do you break it down for them?
Well, I think that it doesn't have to be necessarily young adults. I think most people don't understand that there's a method to investing. Like your prior guest was saying, you have to be prepared for the moment when the opportunity arises. And I think what people don't do is prepare. And so you have to develop a method through which you're going to be ready for opportunities. And I think once you achieve that, then everything falls into place.
And what I love about the updated guide is that you talk about the Acorns and the Wealthfront and the Robinhood. What are the pros and cons of these platforms for beginner investors, and what advice do you have for navigating them safely?
Well, I think anytime you're going to give someone your money, as a custodian or as a vehicle through which you're going to try and make more money, you need to research them. And the first thing you should do is very simple. You get on Google and you try and find news about these people whose platforms you're using. If they've had problems, then that doesn't mean they're having problems now. But you want to be able to make sure that they are number one, viable. That they are, number two, financially sound, and the number three, that they've learned from their mistakes and are able to deliver a sound service to you.
Indeed. And one of the things that's gaining traction is ESG, environmental, social, and governance investing. Can you explain the basic concept and why it's becoming increasingly relevant for today's young investors?
Well, a lot of people are socially conscious, and so they want to invest in things that not just make them money, but make them also feel good about how they're making money. There are pluses and minuses like everything else. So if you're going to do ESG investing, you want to make sure that you're doing it in a place that actually fosters that, and a company that actually is being responsible about it. Because it's not as it was a few years ago where everyone is for that approach.
Even with a modest income, your book suggests ways to build wealth. What are some actionable steps for young adults to start building their net worth, even if they're on a tight budget?
Well, two things. The first one is pay off all the debt that you possibly can. And the second thing is maximize your retirement. If you're working somewhere and they have a generous 401k plan, then pay down your bills and plunk all the money that you can possibly put into your 401k plan. Once you achieve that, then you can start looking at other things.
And we're going to have to cut to break in about 90 seconds, but you have stated that investing doesn't have to be overwhelming. With my book, you say young adults can take small, actionable steps that compound into significant financial wins over time. So what's the single most important actionable step that you want our listeners and any young adult taking after reading your book?
Well, I just pretty much stated them. The first things to do are you pay down your debt and become cash flow positive, and then maximize your retirement plan. If you do those two things, you're in great shape and you can start building the rest of your portfolio.
Amazing. I'm chatting with Dr. Joe Duarte, a renowned market analyst, trader, investor, money manager, and author. And his latest book is the third edition of the Everything Guide to Investing in Your 20s and 30s. Joe, this is absolutely a fascinating read and something we talk about a lot on this program. It's so much easier to do it right early on, take the proactive steps. It's so much better to talk to young adults than to talk to folks that might be at the tail end of their career and have to clean up some of those mistakes, right?
Yes, sir. I think the most important thing that I can tell anyone, especially young adults, is take your time, pay down that debt, and maximize your retirement plan, and everything else falls into place.
Well, you've emphasized it several times, so it must be important. It's a fascinating read, and we're going to continue our conversation with Joe Duarte in a moment. I want to get to know the man behind the book because he has a fascinating story, and we're going to continue that conversation after a quick break. Hey, welcome back. I'm chatting with the author of the third edition, and probably the first and second editions too, of the Everything Guide to Investing in Your 20s and 30s, a book that's designed to empower young adults, but there's lessons for everybody to take control of their financial futures. And chatting with Dr. Joe Duarte. Joe, again, welcome back. You have been analyzing global events since 1990. You were actually one of CNBC's original market mavens. Joe, how has that landscape of personal finance and investing changed most significantly over your career, and what trends do you foresee in the next decade?
Well, I think the most important thing is the automation of the stock market. Everything now, or at least 80-90% of the trades are automated through machines. The big money players, use a lot of algorithmic trading, and the rest of us who trade for a living have had to adapt by learning how to follow the algorithms. And to a certain degree, it's a lot easier in many ways to do that now because there's a lot of less decision time involved.
Very, very interesting. Okay. So, Joe, the big question over here, and I know all of our listeners want to know, is you have a background as an anesthesiologist and experience managing individual accounts. That background offers a unique blend of insights. How does your medical background, or perhaps even the discipline required in that field, inform your approach to financial analysis and money management? I guess in a nutshell, tell us your story.
Well, it's a long story, but the short version is the stock market crashed when I was getting started in my medical training, and I became fascinated with it to the point where that's all I would talk about. So a guy one day, one of my co-residents said, I'm sick and tired of hearing you talking about it. Why don't you just write a newsletter? So I bought a book that said how to write newsletter, and I did. And I followed everything in that book. Next thing you know, I get quoted in Barron's, and the whole dynamic just rolled for me. And I retired from medicine about a year or two ago, and this is what I do full time now.
We're glad that you do. I appreciate you sharing your invaluable expertise in making the world of investing accessible to young adults. It's pretty empowering, some of these insights. And again, listeners, if you're ready to transform how you think about money, pick up Dr. Joe Duarte's The Everything Guide to Investing in Your 20s and 30s, third edition. I know it literally just came out a few days ago, and it is a must read. Joe, I want to give the final word over to you, both how can we find the book and what's coming up next for you?
Well, the book is available everywhere. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore, and It's out there, and I would appreciate everyone's support. To find me, you can go to the smartmoneypassport.substack.com website. That's where I write my articles now, and that's where you can find my stock recommendations and my insights.
Joe, thank you. Thanks for those insights. And definitely, as you have more to share, stay in touch with us here and Get Down to Business. And we can't wait to have you back on real soon. So believe it or not, friends, that's a wrap for us this week on Get Down to Business. We've had 4 absolutely fascinating guests talking all things small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. And you can always get in touch with me, syklein.com. I love to hear from our listeners, love to hear from folks to hear what's important to you so we can focus our shows on those topics. Your feedback is welcome and appreciated. I respond to each and every message, syklein.com. That's also where you can find the past 12 plus years of shows all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. We've got quite an archive. It's all available on the website and, of course, on your favorite podcast apps as well. Just search for Get Down to Business. And friends, do me a favor, make sure you subscribe, rate, review, and share. That's the best way to ensure you don't miss a single episode. Be sure to check out our good friend, Anthony DeGrotto from State Farm. He is our resource for everything home and commercial insurance, and a phenomenal resource. We have him on regularly on the program, and you can find those segments, those conversations, but also, of course, reach out to him and tell him you heard about his services, Anthony DeGrotto from the State Farm Agency. You have those conversations with him and protect yourself to success. Let's get down to business. We'll see you next week.